having donated over 3,000 acres to the city, was a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and has a park and observatory named after him. This man was a legend to Los Angeles. I'm Josie, and today we are moseying on over to parts of LA as well as Santa Monica to investigate the story and intricate life of Griffith J. Griffith. So let's get into it.
Griffith Jenkins Griffith, who I'll be calling Griffith Squared because that's just too hard to say, was born in South Wales in 1850 and was the son of a father who worked in nearby mines. Being the eldest of the family, Griffith Squared had the opportunity to come to America with his uncle, and he went into the newspaper business. His trade eventually led him to San Francisco in the 1870s, where he got into mining. Eventually, he became an expert on western mines and made his probably exaggerated fortune as a consultant to mine owners. Then, in 1882, Griffith Squared moved to Los Angeles, permanently.
Now, that December, Griffith Squared bought the rural Los Feliz Rancho, and he started to become well known in LA because of the very successful ranching operation that he did build. That ranching operation eventually accumulated 6,000 sheep, 50 horses, and 150 dairy cows, and now the ranch is known as Griffith Park. Now, Griffith would annoy quite a bit of people by forcing himself into the SoCal civic life. People would call him a roly-poly, pompous little fellow with an exaggerated strut of a turkey gobbler and an egomaniac midget. And it makes me wonder, how short was this guy? Because it sounds like he had short man syndrome.
Despite these name callings, Louis Mesmer, an owner of a furniture store on Main Street, wanted to introduce Griffith to his daughter Tina. These Mesmers were the descendants of the Vertigo family, thus aristocracy in Los Angeles. Not to mention, Tina and her sister Lucy were the supposed heiresses to about $250,000 left to them by their family friend Andre Briswalter, who had died of blood poisoning. Believing that Tina Mesmer was the heiress to the whole $250,000 fortune, Griffith started to court her. Now Griffith Squared, being mesmerized by the fortune, quickly proposed. However, 10 days before the wedding, Griffith discovered that Tina would only inherit half of that fortune. In a brutal letter, Griffith tried to break off the engagement. Her family, being devout Catholics, begged Griffith to not disgrace their daughter in this way, and he agreed to marry on the terms that she inherits the entire fortune and that it'll be transferred to his name. According to the LA Times, Griffith claimed that it wasn't to steal the money but to ensure, quote, after marriage there would be no interference with his wife's money on the part of her family. I think that's a load of BS, but whatever. In 1887, Tina and Griffith were married. Again, according to the Times, it was a match made in society heaven. Years after the marriage, the Times finally reported that it was not just all love that motivated this marriage, it was cold, hard cash. There's even reports of Griffith having slipped away during the reception to go ahead and transfer that money, that fortune that he wanted, into his name, and then returned back to his own wedding. And the couple continues their married lives, bringing a son into the world. However, in October 1891, Griffith's life starts to become a little eerie. He accompanies his wife Tina to a cemetery off of Buena Vista Street, when suddenly an angry man in a carriage pulls up and shoots at Griffith from a gun loaded with buckshot. In the chaos that follows, Griffith falls, hits his head, but then sprints and gets up running. Tina, having made it to the carriage, shouts after him, "I know who it is, Papa." The man who shot at Griffith was a Frank Burkett, who owned an ostrich farm and was under the impression that Griffith was out to ruin him.
Not everyone was pleased by Griffith's rise in society. He started calling himself Colonel for no particular reason, and local wits even called him the Price of Wales. Tina claimed that he was a nail-biter due to his anxiety and that he was a sneak drinker that was usually drunk. She later told the Times that basically he would leave the house taking a drink, come back home taking a drink, and she never knew exactly how many drinks were taken in between when he was gone. So with that being said, their marriage started to fall apart as he became more and more unstable due to the paranoia of the assassination attempt on his life. And so the family decided to take a little getaway to the Hotel Arcadia here in Santa Monica, and they stayed there the entire summer of 1903. However, Griffith was just so paranoid the entire time that he would actually have servers switch out soups in the dining room for him. Now Friday, September 4th, Tina was actually packing up everything in their room because they were about to leave the hotel and head back to Los Angeles when Griffith entered the room holding a prayer book and a gun. From there, Griffith started interrogating his wife Tina. He asked her, "Would you swear on this prayer book like you would a Bible? And did you know or hear anything about Briswater being poisoned, even though he was poisoned through blood poisoning?" So didn't really make any sense there. And then he also asked, "Have you been implicated with or do you know of anyone trying to poison me?" And the final question he asked her was, "Have you always been faithful to your marriage vows?" And Tina replied to him, "As God is my judge, I have, and you know I have." And with that, Griffith shot her in the face. She stumbled, got up, and ran out the window and fell to the roof right outside their room. The bullet took out her right eye, but somehow she miraculously lived after being in the hospital for a month. Griffith was arrested 3 days after the incident, and the trial that followed was the talk of Southern California. Griffith's lawyer, Earl Rogers, who was also an alcoholic, claimed that his client had been seized by quote-unquote alcoholic insanity, thus couldn't be responsible for his actions. Tina was stoic in all of the court proceedings, and Griffith only served 2 years in San Quentin. So after Griffith's sentence, many claimed that he was a humbled man, and in fact, he still offered quite a bit of different gifts to the city, for example, one of them being the observatory. However, the city was a little weary accepting gifts from an attempted murderer, so they declined a lot of his gifts. And then later, he died of liver disease, and after his death, the city then accepted his gifts. So I guess it was kind of one of those things where it was like, okay, if you're alive, this is kind of weird, but since the money's there now that you're dead, we'll just go ahead and take it. And of Tina, she actually spent the rest of her days as a virtual recluse with her sister Lucy and her family, dying in 1948. There's still a question that remains though. Was Griffith a bad man that did good things, or was he a good man that did bad things? Leave in the comments down below what you think. I'm Hosey, and hopefully you liked today's video. Feel free to give it a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe if you want some more content just like this. Anyways, peace. I'll see you guys in the next one. Woo! Hey, 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 hey. What did you want me to clarify? What?
This is boba.
It's boba.
And
Nothing
it's not
else.
mine, it's his.
She's my professional holder while I video. I am filming. I just hit the button and then you asked. I have a stalker. Proceed with the filming. Okay. And so from there, where are you going? You're gonna be behind me again.
Where are you going?
I'm going that way. Bye. Into the unknown. Now the couple continues their married life, bringing in a Okay. It just blinked.